Good day to everyone. I'm Vala, and this is your Essential News of the Day channel, otherwise known as Skeletons in the Closet. Just a reminder that the names have not been changed because this news is over 100 years old. It comes from newspapers all over the US and the Commonwealth, so if one of your ancestors is headlined, they'll never know. Today's news is from December 7, 1900, and all from the United States of America. In morals and etiquette news, from the South Bend Tribune in South Bend, Indiana, a preacher at Crawfordsville declaimed against dance clubs, charging that 53% of the marriages in Indiana were led to divorce, and that 90% of those divorces could be traced to the evil influences of married people's dance clubs. How he calculated that is too much for my brain to handle. If you can figure it out, please let me know. From the Horton Headlight in Horton, Kansas, Charles Hingson, who went to China last year, has returned to Horton. He was married while he was away, but could not bring his wife to this country on account of the immigration laws. He is, however, happy in the thought that he has a wife. In health and beauty headlines, we have from the Columbus Republican in Columbus, Indiana, always make love to your wife. Remember, she is just as sweet and dainty now as when you used to hold her by the hand and look into her eyes and tell her she was your only love, your heart's delight. Half the petulance and distress that makes you so irritable comes from indigestion. You can cure it by taking Dr. Caldwell's syrup, Pepsin. It is guaranteed by Q.J. Noblet. This is a little ambiguous. Who is irritable and who is irritated? And who is Q.J. Noblet? And where can one purchase Dr. Caldwell's syrup, Pepsin? Well, here are some answers. Dr. Caldwell's syrup Pepsin was made in Monticello, Illinois by the Pepsin Syrup Company. It was described as a pleasant laxative compound composed of drugs known to be beneficial when an evacuant is indicated, acting gently on the bowels as a flushing agent to relieve conditions due to constipation. Ingredients: 4.5% alcohol, 4 grams per ounce of pepsin, unidentified quantities of 2 different laxatives, I guess just in case one wasn't enough, peppermint, and aromatics. The box label says it does not contain any mercury or narcotics, and it was available at the drugstore owned by Q.J. Noblet in Columbus, Indiana. And more from the South Bend Tribune in South Bend, Indiana. The commissioners of Blackford County have accepted the report of the expert who examined the county officer's books and will take steps to recover the deficit of about $4,400. According to the expert's report, ex-county clerk D.C. Caldwell is $2,800 in arrears. Ex-sheriff E.C. Covalt, $800 in arrears. Ex-sheriff Jesse Bew, $400. Ex-county auditor Mr. Painter, $200. And ex-county treasurer John G. Wood, $107. In today's currency, that's about $156,000 in total. The more things change, the more they stay the same. And now a word from Joy's Cigarettes, offering relief from asthma, wheezing, and winter cough. Asthma cigarettes are widely recommended by doctors to men, women, and children over the age of 6 for bronchial ailments as a way to deliver medication directly to the lungs. The primary ingredient in this medication is stramonium, known in the US as Jimson weed. It was an early remedy for lung problems and a hallucinogenic. Nice. Moving on to technology. Capturing the headlines across the country in 1900 was news about automobiles. Electric cars were all the rage, and one model could travel up to 100 miles on a single charge. Gas-powered engines were not all that popular. The emissions were smelly, their engines vibrated and required more maintenance, and gas stations were few and far between. A gas-powered engine could only travel about 25 miles on a full tank. Cars with gas-powered engines were more difficult to operate, had to be cranked to start, and the gears were hard to control. By 1900, electric cars were so popular that New York City had a fleet of electric taxis, and electric cars accounted for 1/3 of all the cars on the road. They outperformed the gas-powered automobiles in mileage, drivability, maintenance, and ease of use. But then, as now, electric cars were more expensive. One article reads, "The best known and most prominent makers of gasoline cars in this country use electrics for driving between their homes and their offices." So due to public demand for cheaper alternatives, gas-powered cars eventually took over the market. In court proceedings from Columbia, Missouri, Dr. and Mrs. Jameson Vawter, Vawter, of this city, who through local attorneys filed suit against Missouri Midland Railway for $3,000 in damages, had the suit withdrawn today. On an excursion over this road some time ago, Dr. and Mrs. Vawter were detained several hours, and they claimed this amount of damages due to mental anguish caused by being separated from their young children. That $3,000 is just over $100,000 in today's currency. Moving to politics. This gem was published in the Admire News in Admire, Kansas. Governor Stanley is going to serve notice on one of his appointees in the state house, who has several clerks under him, one of whom is a relative, to have that relative in the office other days than besides payday. The governor is laboring under the impression that if a relative is on the payroll, he or she should do some work, and that he or she is not entitled to $50 or $60 a month from the state for doing nothing, just because his or her father is in office. Well, that's a blow to nepotism. William Stanley was the 15th governor of Kansas from 1899 to 1903. He was a lawyer with a reputation for honesty and respect for the law. Unfortunately, his campaign to reform the bureaucratic system was doomed to failure, pretty much like everywhere else. I hope you've enjoyed this expedition into the world of old news, and that it gave you a smile or two. Please leave me a comment, like, subscribe for a daily glimpse into the news stories of the last 2 centuries. Thank you.